Canelo Alvarez's lawsuit against DAZN, Golden Boy, and Oscar De La Hoya, explained by a lawyer. Knuckleheads, welcome to the Fighters Rep, where we give you free fights, interviews in the fight game, and fight commentary from the mind of a promoter who also happens to be a lawyer. So I was really interested in covering this. First and foremost, I made a video about the fallout that was going to happen between Canelo Alvarez, DAZN, and Golden Boy Promotions. I felt like, we were going to see the potential evisceration of what is one of the biggest contracts in the history of sports, definitely the biggest contract in the history of combat sports, and it looks like, unfortunately, it is manifesting itself. So I like to think that I kind of predicted this lawsuit, which was filed just yesterday in the Central District of California by Saul Canelo Alvarez, essentially against just DAZN and Golden Boy. Now, I will preface this by saying everything in this video is just my opinion, but I feel like I got a pretty educated opinion on this one as somebody who's a promoter and an attorney. So first and foremost, I look at the complaint, I look at this lawsuit, I see 10 counts. More than anything, this is a breach of contract lawsuit, right? Breach of contract basically means that, hey, me and you entered into an agreement. One of us didn't come through with our end of the bargain, so I'm suing you for damages. And that's important here, right? That's the basis of this thing. But also, I think the trigger to this whole lawsuit is count number 8 that talks about fraud and concealment. I'll go through what I saw in the complaint since we don't have a copy of the contracts. I'll go through what I see in the complaint, and it's kind of the best treasure trove of information we have as to what went wrong here. So first and foremost, reading this complaint, the first thing that I want you guys to know is there are 2 contracts here. There's the broadcasting contract, and there's the promotional contract. So it's not one contract between the 3 parties. It's 2 contracts between the parties. And it's part of the reason this whole thing went to shit, right? You have the broadcasting contract, which was between DAZN and Golden Boy. And then you have the promotional contract between Golden Boy and Saul Canelo Alvarez. The broadcasting contract between DAZN and Golden Boy said that we're going to give you, Golden Boy, $40 million for these next 10 fights as a licensing fee to allow us to broadcast Canelo Alvarez's fights. And the promotional agreement between Golden Boy and Canelo says we're going to give you, Canelo, $35 million per fight. So Oscar and Golden Boy agreed to give Canelo $35 million per fight for the 10 fights after the Rocky Fielding fight. Because the Rocky Fielding fight, that's already settled. That's not an issue. They agreed to $15 million on that, and I guess he got paid for that. But for the next 10 fights, Golden Boy was supposed to give Canelo $35 million. And of course, they're getting $40 million from DAZN, right? In their agreement with DAZN, which is a separate agreement. So obviously, the $40 million from DAZN is supposed to sort of swim through and flow into Canelo's pockets in the form of $35 million. And I guess, Golden Boy keeps 5. You do the math. The crazy part here is that Canelo Alvarez is alleging that he was not a party to the contract between DAZN and Golden Boy. He wasn't even there during the negotiation, which I think is crazy because in a situation where you've got the biggest contract in combat sports history, you've got $365 million on the line, you want to make sure that these 2 separate contracts are ironclad consistent, so there's no issues. Canelo's saying he wasn't even there, and Canelo is saying that there were assurances and promises made by Golden Boy to DAZN that would allow DAZN to reject certain fights and make determinations as to who he's going to fight. Now, the huge problem with that is the Golden Boy contract with Canelo over here on this side was saying that Canelo was kind of the final stop. He's the one who decides who he's going to fight. Him and Golden Boy were to sit down, and he's the one who was to decide who he was going to fight. And that's the reason that this whole lawsuit, if you ask me, came about. And in count number 8 of the complaint, which, you guys can find on Google, or maybe I'll link below for you. In count number 8 of the complaint, Canelo is saying fraud and concealment against Golden Boy, right? And they're saying in this complaint that the Alvarez contract, right, didn't mention that DAZN would have the right to accept or reject any opponents selected by Alvarez. Alvarez, and I'm reading this right out the complaint, Alvarez was not told that Golden Boy Promotions had already entered into an agreement with DAZN that gave DAZN a role in approving his future opponents. Now, the other reason, besides thinking that they could approve opponents, the other reason DAZN was probably pissed off is because apparently they had required that Alvarez fight Golovkin in 2019. Alvarez is saying in his complaint here, the Alvarez contract did not require Alvarez to select Mr. Golovkin as his opponent in 2019 or at any time thereafter. So DAZN was under the understanding, right? They were under the impression that Canelo had to fight Alvarez in 2019 and that they had a role in accepting or rejecting the opponents. Regarding Golden Boy and Alvarez, however, the Alvarez contract with Golden Boy specified that Alvarez's opponents be mutually selected by Alvarez and Golden Boy, subject to Alvarez's final approval. I mean, I'm so blown away by this. And then to compound it, Canelo Alvarez, you guys, is saying, he's saying that despite having requested a copy of the contract between Golden Boy and DAZN repeatedly from Golden Boy and from DAZN, he's not been afforded a copy of that contract. So he's suing DAZN, saying that, they've breached the contract by not giving the $40 million to Golden Boy. And he's suing Golden Boy because he's saying that the $35 million you were supposed to pay me, you're not going to pay me. And I've given you time. He says in the complaint, he's given Golden Boy time. He's given De La Hoya time to find him alternative broadcasters and routes so that he could pay him. Knuckleheads, tell me what you think. What do you think of this entire situation? I would love to hear your opinions. And also, I do have the complaint. If you have any questions about it, feel free to ask me in the comments below. Or, you could reach out to me on Instagram at FightersRep, or right here in the comments below, or on Facebook at FightersRep. Any messages you guys send will eventually get to me. You can also email me at info@fightersrep.com or george@fightersrep.com. It's crazy, Knuckleheads. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon next to it. Join Knucklehead Nation. Get your Fighters Rep gear in the link below as well. Help me continue to build this channel and build the only kickboxing promotion that matters. If you don't have your Fighters Rep gear, a shirt, mask, hoodie, tank, whatever that's in the link below, then you just don't know shit about fighting. Knuckleheads, this is crazy. I'm out of here.